The war room fell silent as the last defense ship disappeared from the tactical display. Hana watched the blue dots blink out one by one, her heart sinking with each loss. The Battle of the Twin Moons had been a disaster. Half of Sarum's fleet was now floating debris in space. "We have less than 2 months before they return," Admiral Sangwoo said, his voice tired and hollow. "Maybe less." Hana looked around the circular chamber at the Council of Elders. These wise leaders who had guided her people for generations now looked like frightened children. The Vakri Empire had crushed 12 star systems in 3 months. Sarum would be next. Her father coughed from his medical bed in the corner. High Chancellor Byung-soo had taken shrapnel to his chest during the battle. The doctors said he had weeks to live, perhaps days. His breathing came in short, painful gasps. "Daughter," he whispered. Hana moved to his side and took his hand. "There must be another way. We cannot simply wait for death." Elder Myung-hee spoke up from across the room. "We should surrender. At least some of our people might survive as slaves." "No." Hana's voice was sharp. "My brother Minjai died fighting them. Thousands died. We do not surrender." "Then what do you suggest, Princess?" Elder Daehyun asked. "We have no fleet, no allies. The other systems are too afraid to help us." Hana had been thinking about this for days. There was one option, one desperate chance. She had researched the old laws, the ancient treaties that governed the star cluster. Deep in the legal codes, she found something. "There are humans nearby," she said quietly. The room erupted in confused voices. Humans were known across the galaxy as violent newcomers. They had appeared in this sector only 50 years ago, selling their services as mercenaries. Most civilized species avoided them. "The mercenary fleet?" Sang-woo asked. "The Iron Wind Group?" "Yes. 40 warships under Captain Jinho's command. They're in orbit around the mining station at Helios Point." "Mercenaries want money," Myung-hee said. "We spend everything on the defense fleet. We have nothing to pay them." Hana took a deep breath. The old treaty laws allow for political marriage contracts. A royal union can bind military forces to our defense. It's an ancient law, but it still exists. The room went completely silent. Everyone stared at her. Her father squeezed her hand weakly. "Hana, no. You cannot." "I can, and I will." She stood up straight, pulling her hand away gently. "I am the crown princess. I have the authority to make this choice. If marriage can save our people, then I will marry." "You would marry a human?" Daehyun's voice was filled with disgust. "A mercenary. These creatures are barbaric. They know nothing of our culture, our ways." "They know how to fight," Hana said firmly. "That's what we need right now. Not culture, not poetry. We need someone who can beat the Vakrii." Elder Jin-suk, the oldest member of the council, nodded slowly. "The princess is right. Pride means nothing if we're all dead. But will this human captain even accept such an offer?" "There's only one way to find out," Hana said. 2 days later, Hana sat in a small transport ship heading toward Helios Point. She had insisted on going alone. The council had protested, but she was firm. This was her decision, her sacrifice. She would face it alone. The human fleet appeared on her view screen. 40 warships, each one dark and ugly compared to the elegant crystal ships of Sarum. They looked like weapons, pure and simple. No decoration, no beauty. Just raw military power. The largest ship, the Iron Wind, loomed before her. It was massive, covered in armor plating and gun batteries. Warning lights blinked along its hull. Her transport received permission to dock. The airlock opened with a hiss. Hana stepped into a corridor that smelled of metal and oil. Everything was gray and functional. 2 human soldiers in combat armor stood waiting. They were tall, muscular, their faces hidden behind helmets. "This way, princess. one said in heavily accented Sarum language. They led her through narrow corridors to a command room. Captain Jin Ho stood with his back to her, looking at tactical displays. He was tall for a human, with short black hair and broad shoulders. He wore a simple gray uniform with captain's insignia. When he turned, Hana saw a face that was handsome but cold. His dark eyes studied her without emotion. "Princess Hana of Sarim," he said. His voice was deep and controlled. "You came alone. That was either very brave or very stupid." "I came to make you an offer," Hana said, forcing her voice to stay steady. "I know why you're here. My intelligence officers are good." Jin Ho walked to a table and poured 2 glasses of water. He offered one to her. "You want to hire my fleet, but you have no money. I have something else to offer." Hana accepted the water, but didn't drink. "Myself, a political marriage under the old treaty laws. In exchange, you defend Sarim against the Vakri." Jin Ho's expression didn't change. He drank his water slowly, thinking. "Marriage. To a human. Your people must be truly desperate." "We are. And what happens after? If we win, are you stuck married to a barbarian mercenary forever?" There was no emotion in his voice. He might have been discussing cargo contracts. "The treaty is permanent unless both parties agree to end it," Hana said. Jin Ho set down his glass. He walked around her slowly, studying her like she was a piece of equipment. It made her uncomfortable, but she stood straight and still. "I'll be honest with you, Princess," he finally said. "I don't care about your people. I don't care about your culture or your crystal gardens or your elegant way of war. I fight for contracts, nothing more." "I understand." "Do you?" "I'm not some noble hero from your stories. I'm a mercenary. I kill people for money. This marriage would be a business arrangement, nothing more. Don't expect love or kindness." Hana felt her throat tighten, but she kept her voice firm. "I expect nothing but your military service. My personal feelings are irrelevant. My people's survival is what matters." Jin Ho stopped in front of her. He was taller than her by a head. "You have courage." "I respect that. Fine, I accept your offer. We'll have the ceremony tomorrow. Both crews will witness it via holocom. After that, my fleet is yours until the Vakri are dealt with." He extended his hand. Hana knew this was a human gesture of agreement. She took his hand. His grip was strong, calloused from years of combat. "One more thing," Jin Ho said. "When I fight my way. No interference from your council or admirals. Complete tactical authority. Can you agree to that?" "Yes." "Good. My officer will show you to guest quarters. The ceremony is at 1000 hours tomorrow." Hana was dismissed. As she followed a human soldier to her room, she felt the weight of what she had done. In less than 24 hours, she would be married to a stranger, a human warrior who admitted he felt nothing for her or her people. But at least Sarim had a chance now. Whatever happened to her personally didn't matter. She was crowned princess. Sacrifice was her duty. That night, alone in the cold metal room aboard the Iron Wind, Hana allowed herself to cry. Not for herself, but for Minjae, for her dying father, for all the people counting on her. Tomorrow she would be strong. Tonight she could be afraid. The wedding would change everything. She just didn't know how much. The wedding ceremony lasted exactly 12 minutes. Hana stood on the bridge of the Iron Wind wearing her formal royal robes while Jin Ho wore his dress uniform. A human officer read the contract terms in both languages. They each pressed their thumbprints to the digital document. It was done. She was married. The Sarim people watching through holocom transmission were silent. Some looked hopeful. Others looked disgusted. Hana's father had been too weak to attend even by video. Elder Myung-hee's face showed clear disapproval. Jin Ho dismissed everyone immediately after the ceremony. "Back to work," he ordered his crew. He didn't look at Hana. He simply returned to his command chair and started reviewing tactical reports. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, Hana had barely spoken to her husband outside of formal briefings. He was always working, always planning. He slept only 4 hours a night. He ate quickly, standing up. He never smiled. Hana tried to understand him. She watched everything. The human crew worked differently than Sarim officers. They were loud, direct, and sometimes crude, but they were efficient. Orders were followed instantly without question. One morning, Hana found herself in the training bay. She had heard sounds of combat and wanted to see what humans did to prepare for war. What she saw shocked her. 20 human soldiers were fighting hand-to-hand in a combat ring. They weren't using practice weapons. They were using real knives, real force. Blood dripped from cuts and bruises. They fought like animals, brutal and direct. "Your people find this disturbing," a voice said beside her. Hana turned to see Lieutenant Yuna, Jin-Ho's second-in-command. She was a compact woman with short hair and several scars on her face. "You're really hurting each other," Hana said. "Yes, because real combat hurts. We train the way we fight." Yuna leaned against the railing. "Your people practice elegant sword forms and energy shield techniques, beautiful to watch, but humans don't have psychic powers. We don't have natural shields. We only have stubbornness and violence." "Is that all humans are? Violent?" Yuna smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. "We've been fighting wars since before we had cities. Earth history is one long story of warfare. We nearly destroyed ourselves 7 times before we reached space. Every human child learns about the world wars, the resource conflicts, the gene wars. Fighting is in our blood." Hana watched 2 soldiers crash to the mat below. One pinned the other with an armbar until the trapped soldier tapped the mat in surrender. They both stood up, shook hands, and started again. "Do you ever stop fighting?" Hana asked quietly. "Not really. When we're not fighting enemies, we fight each other in training. When we're not training, we fight in simulations. War is what humans do best. It's not pretty, princess, but it keeps us alive." Over the next days, Hana observed more training. She watched humans run in gravity chambers set to 3 times normal gravity. She saw them practice shooting drills for 8 hours straight. She witnessed medical teams rehearsing battlefield surgery techniques on synthetic bodies. Everything humans did was about warfare. Their music was full of military marches. Their stories celebrated warriors. Even their games involved combat and strategy. Jin-Ho remained distant. He spoke to her during daily briefings, but nothing personal. At night, he slept in his captain's quarters while she had separate rooms nearby. The marriage was real on paper, but felt like a business contract in practice. One evening, Hana found Jin-Ho in a small observation room, reading something on a data pad. She almost left, but curiosity made her stay. "What are you reading?" she asked. He looked up, surprised to see her. "Military history, Earth history, books by commanders from our past." "Why?" "You already know how to fight. There's always more to learn." He turned the pad to show her. "This is from a commander named Sun Tzu. He lived 3,000 years ago on Earth. He wrote, 'All warfare is based on deception.'" Hana stepped closer. "Your people fight like artists in a way, but artists of destruction. Your people fight like artists too, but you fight for beauty and honor. Humans fight to survive. Every battle might be our last, so we fight with everything we have." He paused. "It's not noble, but it works. Do you enjoy it? The fighting?" Jin-Ho was quiet for a moment. "No, I hate it, but I'm good at it, and people need someone who's good at the terrible things." It was the most personal thing he had ever said to her. Before Hana could respond, an alarm blared through the ship. "All hands to battle stations," the intercom announced. "Valkyrie probe fleet detected. 6 ships entering the system." Jin-Ho was on his feet instantly. Hana followed him to the bridge. The command crew was already at their positions. The main view screen showed 6 sleek Valkyrie warships approaching Sci-Fi space. "They're testing our defenses." Admiral Sang-woo's voice came over the comm from Sci-Fi Command. "We should form a defensive perimeter around the planet." "No," Jin-Ho said firmly. He was typing commands into his chair's terminal. "All human ships, attack formation Delta. Full speed ahead. Target the lead ships first." "Captain, we should defend," Sang-woo started. "I have tactical authority," Jin-Ho cut him off. "We attack, now." Hana watched in shock as the human fleet accelerated directly toward the Valkyrie ships. This was madness. Standard combat doctrine said to defend from a strong position, not charge forward recklessly. The Valkyrie ships seemed surprised, too. They hesitated. Clearly not expecting such aggression, that moment of hesitation cost them. The human ships opened fire at maximum range. Railgun rounds crossed space at incredible speeds. They didn't bother with energy weapons, just solid metal projectiles moving at a fraction of light speed. The first Valkyrie ship's shields flared and collapsed under the barrage. The second railgun volley punched through its hull. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash. "Nuclear torpedoes away," Yuna reported calmly. Hana saw the weapons streak across space. They weren't fancy. They were just missiles with nuclear warheads. Brutal and effective. 2 more Valkyrie ships died in nuclear fire. The remaining 3 tried to retreat, but the human ships were faster than they looked. They closed the distance quickly. "Ram them," Jin-Ho ordered. Hana couldn't believe what she heard. "What?" The human ships activated their kinetic barriers and simply crashed into the Valkyrie vessels. Metal screamed against metal. The human ships, built like battering rams, smashed through the elegant Valkyrie hulls. More nuclear torpedoes finished what the ramming started. The battle lasted 11 minutes. 6 Valkyrie ships destroyed. 0 human ships lost. A few had damage, but nothing serious. The bridge crew cheered. Jin-Ho remained calm. "Damage reports, casualty count, salvage teams to recover any Valkyrie technology from the wrecks." He turned to look at Hana. "That's how humans fight. No elegance, no honor, just overwhelming violence applied quickly." Hana felt sick. The battle had been so brutal, so direct, but it had worked. The Valkyrie were gone. "They'll come back with more ships," she said quietly. "Yes, and we'll be ready." Jin-Ho stood up. "That was just a probe. The real battle is coming, but now they know what they're facing. They won't underestimate us again." That night, Hana couldn't sleep. She kept seeing the Valkyrie ships exploding, the human vessels ramming through enemy hulls without hesitation. This was what she had bought with her marriage. This terrible, efficient violence. But her people were alive. Sci-Fi still stood. Maybe that was worth the price. She found herself walking to the observation deck. To her surprise, Jin-Ho was there, looking out at the stars. "Can't sleep either?" he asked without turning around. "No, I keep thinking about the battle." "Your first real combat?" "I've seen battles before, but not like that. Not so brutal." Jin-Ho nodded. "Humans learned a long time ago that mercy in war gets you killed. We fight to win, completely and without hesitation. It's ugly, but it keeps us alive." They stood in silence for a while. Finally, Hana spoke. "Thank you for keeping your contract, for protecting my people. That's what you paid for." But his voice was softer than usual, less cold. Hana looked at him. In the starlight, he seemed different. Less like a machine, more like a man carrying heavy burdens. "The next battle will be worse," he said. "Much worse. The Valkyrie will send their main fleet, hundreds of ships. Are you prepared for what I'll have to do?" "I don't have a choice." "There's always a choice, Hana." He used her name for the first time. "You chose to marry a monster to save your people. That takes courage. You're not a monster." He smiled, but it was sad. You haven't seen me in a real war yet. Ask me again after. He walked away, leaving Hana alone with the stars and her thoughts. Her husband was an enigma. Cold and violent, but also intelligent and strangely principled. She didn't understand him yet, but she was beginning to think there was more to Jin-Ho than just a mercenary. Hidden beneath the warrior was something else. Something wounded. She would figure it out. Eventually. The intelligence report arrived 2 months after the probe battle. Hana stood in the war room with Jin-Ho and the Sarim Council as the holographic display showed the terrible truth. 300 Vakri warships were gathering at a staging point 3 systems away. 300, Elder Dae-hyun whispered. His face had gone pale. Against our 40 ships, this is impossible. We should evacuate, Myung-hee said immediately. Load as many people as possible onto transport ships and flee to neutral space. No. Jin-Ho's voice was firm. He studied the display carefully, his expression thoughtful. We don't run. Easy for you to say, human, Myung-hee snapped. These aren't your people dying. Jin-Ho turned to look at her. His eyes were cold. I signed a contract. I keep my contracts. We fight. Against 6-to-1 odds? Admiral Sang-woo shook his head. Even human ferocity has limits, Captain. Numbers aren't everything. Jin-Ho zoomed in on the display, examining the Vakri formation. They're gathering at a single staging point. That's a mistake. Hana stepped closer. What do you mean? It means they're predictable. They're following standard military doctrine. Gather your force, then move as one overwhelming hammer. He smiled slightly. But hammers are slow, and they're easy to hit. You have a plan, Hana said. It wasn't a question. I always have a plan. Jin-Ho dismissed the display. Council, you're excused. Princess Hana, come with me. The elders filed out, looking worried. Hana followed Jin-Ho to his personal office, a small room filled with data pads and star charts. He closed the door behind them. Sit, he said, pointing to a chair. This will take time to explain. Hana sat. Jin-Ho pulled up a tactical display between them. The Vakri think in terms of overwhelming force. They gather massive fleets and crush resistance. It's worked for them 12 times. It won't work this time. Why not? Because I'm not going to defend. I'm going to attack first. Hana stared at him. Attack? 300 ships? Yes. While they're still gathered at the staging point. Before they can move. He manipulated the display, showing ship movements. We'll jump directly into their formation, hit them before they're ready. That's suicide. Maybe. Or maybe it's brilliant. Humans have a saying, fortune favors the bold. Sometimes the crazy move is the right move because no one expects it. Over the next hour, Jin-Ho explained his plan in detail. It was insane. It violated every rule of warfare Hana had ever learned. But as he talked, she began to see the logic. The Vakri would be packed together, expecting to launch a coordinated assault. They wouldn't be ready for enemies appearing in their midst. I need to study this more, Jin-Ho said finally. Research similar historical battles. Can I stay? Hana asked. I want to understand how you think. He looked surprised but nodded. Fine. They spent the evening together in his office. Jin-Ho showed her old Earth battles, where smaller forces defeated larger ones through surprise and aggression. He read passages from ancient military texts, explaining concepts like interior lines and defeat in detail. This commander, Yi Sun-sin, Jin-Ho said, showing her information about a Korean admiral from Earth's past. He defeated Japanese invasion fleets with far fewer ships. He used terrain, psychology, and superior tactics. I studied his campaigns at the academy. You admire him, Hana observed. He saved his country from conquest. Yes, I admire that. Jin-Ho paused. He also died in his final battle. Victory. but at the cost of his life. Is that what you expect? To die in this battle? Jin-Ho met her eyes. I expect to do whatever is necessary. If that means dying, then I die. Better a dead hero than a living coward. You're not a coward. No. But I'm not sure I'm a hero either. Heroes fight for ideals. I fight because it's what I'm good at. Hana found herself spending more time with Jin-Ho over the following weeks. Not as husband and wife, but as something like friends. He was still distant, still formal. But sometimes she caught glimpses of the person beneath the soldier. One evening, she asked him about Earth. What was it like? Your homeworld? Crowded, polluted, beautiful in places, ugly in others. He pulled up images on his data pad. I grew up in a city called Busan, by the ocean. Do you miss it? Sometimes. But I haven't been back in 10 years. After my sister died, there was nothing left for me there. Your sister? Hana remembered he had mentioned her before. What happened? Jin-Ho's expression went dark. HFY. She was 16. Pirates raided our colony ship while we were emigrating. I was security, but I couldn't save her. They killed her in front of me. I'm sorry. That's when I became a mercenary. I learned to fight properly, learned to kill efficiently, so it would never happen again. He closed the data pad. What about you? Your brother Minjai? What was he like? It was the first personal question he had asked her. Hana felt tears come to her eyes. He was brave, funny. He always made me laugh even when times were hard. He wanted to be a scientist, not a soldier. But when the war came, he volunteered immediately. He sounds like he was a good man. He was. The Valkyrie killed him at the Twin Moons. His ship was one of the first destroyed. Hana wiped her eyes. I should hate them. And I do. But I also understand you now. Why you fight. It's not about money or contracts. It's about making sure others don't lose their siblings too. Jin-Ho was quiet for a long moment. Yes, that's exactly it. Something shifted between them in that moment. A understanding. They had both lost people they loved. They both carried pain. Fighting was how they dealt with it. Come with me, Jin-Ho said suddenly. There's something I want to show you. He led her through the ship to a small room she had never entered. Inside was a garden, an actual garden with soil and plants growing under artificial sunlight. But these weren't decorative flowers. They were vegetables and herbs. I started this years ago, Jin-Ho said. Growing things helps me remember that not everything is about destruction. Sometimes you build. Sometimes you nurture. Hana walked among the plants. It was so unexpected. This cold warrior growing tomatoes and basil in a secret room. My mother had a garden, she said softly. Before she died, she grew crystal flowers. Crystal flowers? They're native to Sarum. They grow in harmonic patterns, singing when the wind blows through them. Hana touched a tomato plant gently. She used to take me there every morning. She said gardens taught patience and care. Sounds wise. She was. I miss her. They stood together in the garden, surrounded by green growing things. For the first time, Hana felt truly comfortable with her husband. He wasn't just a weapon. He was a person who had been hurt and was trying to find meaning in a violent universe. The plan, she said finally, the attack on the staging grounds. It could work, but you'll need my support with the council. They won't approve it easily. You'd support me, even though it's dangerous? I married you to save my people. That means trusting you to do what's necessary. Hana looked at him directly. And I do trust you, Jin-Ho. I don't fully understand you yet, but I trust you. He smiled. A real smile this time, not the cold expressions he usually wore. Thank you. That means more than you know. The next day, Hana stood before the council and argued passionately for Jin-Ho's plan. The elders were horrified. They called it madness, but Hana remained firm. "We hired Captain Jin-Ho because he knows war better than we do," she said. "Now we must trust him. Yes, it's risky. But defending against 300 ships is also risky. At least this way we control when and where the battle happens." After hours of debate, the council reluctantly agreed. Jin-Ho had complete tactical authority, as the marriage contract specified. The human fleet would strike first. That night, Hana found Jin-Ho in his ready room preparing final orders. "The council approved," she told him. "I heard. Thank you for supporting me." "Will it work?" "Honestly." Jin-Ho looked at her with serious eyes. "Honestly? I don't know. War is chaos. Plans fall apart the moment battle begins. But this gives us the best chance. And if we're going to die, we'll die on our terms," striking at the enemy's heart. "Then I'll pray to the ancestors for victory. And I'll rely on human stubbornness and firepower." He stood up. "But either way, we face it together." Hana realized he had included her in that "we." Not just his crew, but her too. They were partners now, in more than just name. "Together," she agreed. The fleet would jump in 2 days. 2 days to prepare for the most desperate gamble Hana had ever seen. 2 days before her husband would either save her world or die trying. She found herself hoping, praying that he would survive. Not just for Sarim's sake, but because she was starting to care about him, really care as a person, not just as a military asset. When had that happened? She wasn't sure. But it had. The storm was gathering. Soon it would break over them all. The jump coordinates were locked in. 40 human warships hung in space, engines humming, ready to leap across 3 star systems directly into the heart of the enemy fleet. Hana stood on the bridge of the Iron Wind, wearing a combat suit Jin-Ho had given her, just in case. "All ships report ready," Lieutenant Yuna announced. "Jump drives charged." Jin-Ho sat in his command chair, perfectly calm. Around him, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. No one looked afraid. These humans had done this 100 times before. Hana's hands were shaking. She gripped the railing to steady herself. Back on Sci-Realm, the entire population was watching through live feeds. The council sat in the war room, silent and grim. Admiral Sang-Woo had actually prayed before they left. He expected to watch them all die. "Princess," Jin-Ho said quietly. "Last chance to return to Sci-Realm. You don't need to be here." "Yes, I do. I put you in this position. I should witness it." He nodded. "Brave. Foolish, but brave." He turned to his crew. "All hands. This is Captain Jin-Ho. In approximately 2 minutes, we're going to jump into hell. The Vakri think they're safe, gathered in strength, preparing to crush Sarim. They're wrong. Today, we teach them that humans don't wait for death. We bring it to the enemy first." He paused, looking around the bridge. "Some of you might die today. I won't lie about that. But if we die striking at the heart of the beast. We die as warriors, not as victims. And if we win, we'll have saved an entire world and proven that humanity bows to no one." The crew cheered, not loud but determined. These were professionals. "Helm, execute jump on my mark." Jin-Ho gripped his chair's armrests. 3, 2, 1, mark. The universe twisted, space folded around them. For a moment, Hana felt like she was being pulled apart. Then reality snapped back. They were in the middle of the Vakri fleet. Hana's screen showed chaos. 300 Vakri warships surrounded them, packed together in a standard staging formation. The enemy ships were elegant and deadly, painted in the purple and gold colors of the Vakri Empire. They were huge, each one twice the size of a human ship. For a second, everything was silent. The Vakri were stunned. They hadn't expected enemies to appear in their midst. Jin-Ho's voice cut through that silence. "Release the mines, all ships. Full burn towards center formation. Fire everything." The human ships dropped devices as they accelerated. Hana saw them on her tactical display, hundreds of small objects spreading through the Valkyrie fleet. "What are those?" she asked. "Gravity mines," Yuna said with a grim smile. "Experimental weapons. They create artificial gravity wells. Watch." The mines activated. Space itself twisted around them. Gravity suddenly appeared where it shouldn't exist, pulling at the Valkyrie ships. The elegant enemy vessels, packed tight together, collided with each other. Shield generators overloaded, trying to compensate for the unexpected forces. "Now!" Jinho roared. "Nuclear torpedoes away!" The human fleet fired everything. Nuclear warheads streaked through space by the hundreds. They slammed into the confused Valkyrie ships. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers. In 30 seconds, 20 Valkyrie ships were destroyed or crippled. The enemy fleet tried to respond, but they were their own worst enemy now. Packed so closely together, they couldn't maneuver. Ships crashed into each other trying to turn. Commanders screamed conflicting orders over their communication channels. "All ships ram speed," Jinho ordered. "Target the command vessels. Recognition codes show 3 ships with admiral flags. Kill them first." The human warships, built like battering rams with reinforced prows, crashed through the Valkyrie lines. They weren't elegant. They were brutal instruments of destruction. Kinetic barriers flared as human ships collided with enemy hulls. Metal screamed. Ships broke apart. The Valkyrie formation dissolved into chaos. Hana watched in horror and amazement. This wasn't a battle. It was a slaughter. The humans fought with a ferocity that seemed insane. They rammed ships 3 times their size. They fired point-blank into enemy bridges. They showed no fear, no hesitation. "Boarding teams away," Yuna reported. "Sergeant Taeyang's squads are going for the command ships." On one screen, Hana saw human soldiers in heavy combat suits jump from their ships to Valkyrie vessels. They used cutting torches to burn through hulls, then charged inside, fighting in zero gravity in vacuum, in conditions that would kill most species. But humans kept coming. The Valkyrie tried to fight back. Energy weapons lashed out, missiles launched. Some human ships took damage. The destroyer, Hammer of Soul, lost its starboard engines and spun away, trailing atmosphere. But the crew kept firing even as they died. "High Warlord Kreth is broadcasting on open channels," the communications officer reported. "Audio coming through." A harsh alien voice filled the bridge, speaking through translators. "What are you? What kind of monsters fight like this? You have no honor, no mercy." Jinho's expression was cold. He opened a channel. "I am Captain Jinho of Earth. Saerim is under human protection now. You came here to conquer. Instead, you'll die. Tell your empire this before you meet your gods. Humanity doesn't surrender. We don't retreat. We win." He cut the channel. "Target Kreth's flagship. Put everything we have into that ship." The Iron Wind's weapons blazed. Every railgun, every missile, every torpedo focused on one massive Valkyrie battleship. Its shields held for almost 10 seconds. Then they collapsed. The ship broke in half. Reactor cores exploding. The Valkyrie fleet finally tried to flee, but they were trapped by their own destroyed ships. Debris fields blocked escape routes. The gravity mines still pulled at them, and the humans kept coming. Hana saw Sergeant Taeyang's boarding team take a Valkyrie command ship. The security footage showed brutal close-quarters combat. Humans fighting with knives when guns ran out of ammunition, fighting with bare hands when knives broke. They were relentless. "Enemy fleet breaking!" Sangwoo's voice came over the comm from Sarim. He sounded shocked. They're running. The ones that can move are trying to jump away." "Let some escape," Jinho ordered. "I want survivors to tell the story. The rest, finish them." The battle continued for another 20 minutes. It wasn't really a battle anymore. It was an execution. The Valkyrie ships that couldn't escape were systematically destroyed. Nuclear fire bloomed again and again. Finally, silence. Space was full of wreckage and bodies. 267 Valkyrie ships were destroyed or captured. 33 had managed to jump away, fleeing in panic. Human casualties? Jin-Ho asked, his voice steady. 4 ships with major damage. The Hammer of Soul lost with all hands. 312 killed, 800 wounded. Yuna's voice was sad but controlled. The Soul crew died, taking down 5 enemy ships with them. Jin-Ho closed his eyes briefly. Note their sacrifice in the records. Full military honors. Hana felt tears on her face. 300 humans had died, but they had destroyed an entire Valkyrie invasion fleet. The math was brutal, but clear. They had won. On Sarim, the population erupted in celebration. The holocom feeds showed people dancing in the streets, crying with relief. The council sat in stunned silence, unable to believe what they had witnessed. "Princess?" Admiral Sang-Woo said over the comm, his voice shaking. We doubted. We thought this was suicide. I apologize." "Save your apologies," Hana said. "Thank the humans who died for us." She turned to Jin-Ho. He sat in his command chair, looking tired. The battle fury had left him. Now he just looked like a man who had done terrible things because they were necessary. "You did it," she said softly. "We did it." He stood up slowly. "But the cost." He looked at the casualty list. 300 good people. They trusted me. They followed my orders into hell. And now they're gone. They saved my world. Yes, but does that make their deaths worth it? He walked to the viewport, looking out at the wreckage. "This is what I am, Hana. I win battles, but I lose people. This is the price of victory." Hana went to him. She took his hand. He looked surprised but didn't pull away. "They died as heroes, and you led them to save millions of Sarim people. Yes, the cost was high, but you gave them a good death, a meaningful death. I hope they'd agree with you." Over the next hours, the fleet secured the battlefield. Salvage teams recovered what they could. Medical teams worked on the wounded. The dead were prepared for military funerals. Lieutenant Yuna approached Jin-Ho with a report. "The captured Valkyrie officers are requesting to speak with you." "Fine. Bring them to the conference room." 3 Valkyrie prisoners were brought in, still in damaged armor. They looked at Jin-Ho with a mixture of fear and hatred. The senior officer, a commander named Vex, spoke through a translator. "You fought without honor," Vex said. "Ramming ships, boarding actions, nuclear weapons used freely. You are barbarians." Jin-Ho leaned forward. "Yes, we are. And now your fleet is destroyed. Tell your high command what happened here. Tell them that Earth's warriors protect Sarim now. Tell them that if they come back, we'll burn their homeworlds to ash. Every single one." His voice was cold, absolute. The Valkyrie prisoners flinched. "You'll let us go?" Vex asked, confused. "Yes, so you can deliver my message. The Valkyrie Empire needs to understand what they're facing." Jin-Ho stood up. "Now get off my ship." The prisoners were escorted away. Yuna looked at her captain. "They'll take the message seriously." "Good. I want the entire sector to know. Sarim has humanity's protection. Anyone who attacks them attacks us." News of the battle spread across the star cluster within hours. The footage was broadcast everywhere. Other civilizations watched in shock as humans destroyed a fleet 6 times their size. The Valkyrie Empire fell silent, licking its wounds. That night, Hana found Jin-Ho in his garden. He was tending to his plants, hands covered in soil. It seemed absurd. This man who had orchestrated such destruction was now gently watering tomato plants. "I don't understand you," she said. "What don't you understand?" "How you can be so gentle here and so terrible in battle." Jin-Ho was quiet for a moment. "Because I have to be both. The terrible part protects the gentle part. If I was only gentle, people would die. If I was only terrible, I'd lose my humanity. He looked at her. It's a balance. Always a balance. You saved us. For now. But there will be other threats. Other battles. Then we'll face them. Hana moved closer. Together. Jinho smiled slightly. Yes, together. 3 months after the Battle of Thurok Prime, Sarum was rebuilding. New defense stations orbited the planet. Shipyards worked day and night constructing vessels based on combined human and Sarum technology. The nightmare of conquest had passed, replaced by cautious hope. Hana walked through the Crystal Gardens, the memorial place where her people honored their dead. New crystals had been added recently, 400 of them, each one representing a human who had died defending Sarum. The crystals hummed softly in the wind, singing a mourning song. She knelt before one crystal, touching it gently. This one was for the crew of the Hammer of Soul. All hands lost. They had fought to their last breath, taking 5 enemy ships with them before their reactor exploded. They would have liked this place, a voice said behind her. Jinho stood there, wearing civilian clothes for once instead of his uniform. He looked different without the military bearing, almost peaceful. I hope so, Hana said. We Sarum believe that the dead remain with us in spirit. The crystals hold their memory, singing their story to future generations. Jinho knelt beside her. He placed his hand on the crystal. On Earth, we say they've gone to Valhalla, a warrior's paradise. Or to rest with their ancestors. Different words for the same hope, that they're not truly gone. Do you believe it? I want to, but I'm not sure. He stood up, looking around at the thousands of crystals. My sister Haiwan. I never got to give her a proper memorial. The pirates spaced her body. Nothing left to bury. Hana stood and took his hand. Then we'll make one. Here. A crystal for her. You would do that? For a human you never knew? She was your sister. That's enough. Over the next week, Sarum craftsmen created a special crystal for Haiwan. Jinho provided details about her life, her dreams, her personality. The crystal was carved with human and Sarum symbols combined. When it was placed in the gardens, it sang with a clear, bright tone. Jinho stood before it, and Hana saw tears on his face for the first time. Thank you, he said quietly. This means more than you know. Family, Hana said simply. We honor family. The political situation was changing rapidly. News of the battle had spread across the entire sector. 3 other star systems sent diplomatic envoys to Sarum, requesting meetings. They all wanted the same thing. Protection. Human protection. We could become very wealthy, Lieutenant Yuna said during a briefing. These systems are offering massive contracts. Enough money to buy our own planet if we wanted. Jinho sat quietly, thinking. The council watched him, waiting for his decision. Hana knew what they were thinking. The contract had been fulfilled. The Vakri were defeated. Jinho could take his fleet and leave, rich beyond measure. Captain, Elder Daehyun said carefully, your contract with Princess Hana was to defend Sarum against the Vakri. That task is complete. You're free to accept other opportunities if you wish. Hana felt her heart sink. Of course, the marriage was just a legal contract. Jinho had never promised to stay. She had no right to expect more. No, Jinho said firmly. Everyone looked at him in surprise. No, Myung-hee repeated. You're refusing lucrative contracts? I'm saying I have a different idea. Jinho stood up, pulling up a holographic display. These 3 systems want protection. Fine, but I don't want to be just hired guns anymore. I want to build something permanent. He manipulated the display, showing star charts and defense grids. I propose a formal alliance, the Human Sarum Defense Pact. We combine our military forces, technology, and resources. My ships, your crystal energy systems. Human tactics, Sarim strategic wisdom. Together we protect this entire sector. An alliance? Admiral Sang-Woo looked thoughtful. Not just a temporary contract? Permanent, or as permanent as these things can be. Jin-Ho looked at Hana. I came here for money, but something changed. I've seen your people's courage, your culture, your commitment to beauty and honor even in the face of destruction. That's worth more than gold. Hana felt tears coming. You want to stay? If you'll have me, not just as a hired mercenary, as a true partner. The council debated for hours. In the end, they voted unanimously to approve the alliance. The Human Sarim Defense Pact was signed, combining 40 human warships with the rebuilt Sarim fleet of 30 vessels. Joint training programs began immediately. The cultural exchange was fascinating. Hana watched human soldiers learning Sarim meditation techniques to improve their focus. She saw Sarim warriors training in human close-quarters combat methods, learning the brutal efficiency humans practiced. Her younger sister Ji-Woo became particularly interested in human martial arts. The 16-year-old princess spent hours with Sergeant Tae Yang, learning hand-to-hand fighting techniques. Their father, who had miraculously recovered from his wounds, was less pleased. My daughter should not be rolling in the dirt with soldiers, Byung-soo grumbled. Your daughter is learning to survive, Hana replied. The universe is dangerous. Better she knows how to fight. Human engineer Woo Jin worked with Sarim scientists to create hybrid weapon systems. Crystal energy focusing combined with human railgun technology produced weapons more powerful than either species could create alone. The first prototype ship, the Unity, was launched to great celebration. Through all of this, Hana and Jin-Ho grew closer. They had dinner together most evenings now. He taught her about Earth history and human culture. She shared Sarim poetry and philosophy with him. Slowly, the wall between them crumbled. One evening, they walked through the palace gardens together. The twin moons of Sarim cast silver light across the crystal flowers. Jin-Ho stopped by a fountain, looking at the water. I need to tell you something, he said quietly. Hana felt nervous. What is it? When I accepted your marriage proposal, it was purely business. A contract, nothing more. I thought I'd fight your war. Take my payment and leave. No emotional attachment. He turned to face her. But I was wrong. Wrong about what? About not getting attached. About keeping distance. He stepped closer. Hana, somewhere between your stubbornness in that first meeting and your courage in supporting my insane battle plan, I started to care, really care. Not about the contract, about you. Hana's heart was racing. Jin-Ho, I know I'm not what you wanted. I'm a mercenary, a killer. I have blood on my hands and nightmares most nights. But I'm also a man who's fallen for a woman braver than any soldier I've ever commanded. You think I wanted some perfect prince? Hana laughed, tears streaming down her face. I married you expecting a cold warrior, someone who would fight and leave, but you stayed. You honored the dead. You built a garden on a warship. You cried for your sister. She took his hands. I didn't expect to fall in love with you either, but I did. Watching you plan impossible victories, seeing you care for your crew, learning about the man beneath the armor. How could I not? Jin-Ho pulled her close. They kissed under the moonlight, two people from different worlds who had found each other through war and sacrifice. I love you, he said simply. I love you too, Hana replied. Their marriage, which had begun as a desperate contract, had become real. Not perfect. They still argued. Jin-Ho was still too focused on military matters sometimes. Hana still had trouble understanding human humor, but they were partners now in every sense. 6 months later, another crisis emerged. A distress call came from the Palin system, 3 jumps away. A species called the Dreth had launched a surprise invasion. Thousands were dying. The council met to discuss the situation. "It's not our concern," Myung-hee said. "We have no treaty with Palin." "No formal treaty," Hana corrected. "But they're asking for help. Isn't that enough?" "The princess is right," Jin-ho said. "We have the power to help. That means we have the responsibility to help. That's what this alliance is for. Not just protecting ourselves, protecting others." The vote was close, but it passed. The combined human serum fleet would intervene. Hana stood on the bridge of the Unity, the new hybrid flagship. Jin-ho commanded from the tactical station. Around them, both human and serum officers worked together seamlessly. The integration was working. "All ships report ready," Lieutenant Yuna announced. Jin-ho looked at Hana. She nodded. Together, they gave the order. "Jump!" The fleet disappeared from serum space, heading toward a new battle, a new chance to prove that the alliance was more than just words. As they traveled through hyperspace, Hana thought about how much had changed. 6 months ago, she had been a desperate princess, sacrificing herself to save her people. Now she was a military commander, leading forces to save strangers. And beside her was a husband she loved, a warrior who had shattered armies for her, a man who had proven that humans, despite their reputation for violence, could also be loyal, honorable, and good. "What are you thinking about?" Jin-ho asked during the quiet moment before battle. "About us. About how this started and where we are now." "Regrets?" "None." "You?" Jin-ho smiled. "I married you for a contract, but I would marry you again tomorrow for love. So no. No regrets." The fleet dropped out of hyperspace above Palan. The Dreth invasion force was there, attacking the planet's orbital stations. It was time to fight again. But this time, Hana and Jin-ho fought side by side. Human ferocity combined with serum wisdom. 2 cultures, 2 species, united by shared purpose and forged in the fires of war. The battle was hard, but they won. They always won when they fought together. 10 years later, the Human Serum Alliance controlled 12 systems. Jin-ho had retired from active combat, now serving as Supreme Commander of Alliance forces. Hana was formally recognized as co-leader of the Alliance, her tactical mind and diplomatic skills essential to their success. They had 3 children. The oldest, a daughter named Hae-won after Jin-ho's sister, was training to be a pilot. The twins, a boy and girl, were only 6 but already showed signs of both human stubbornness and serum grace. The Vakri Empire had collapsed completely after 2 more failed attacks. The Alliance had crushed them both times. Now the Vakri were a minor species, no longer a threat. Other empires watched carefully. None wanted to face humanity's wrath or Serum's ancient power. Peace, of a sort, had come to the sector. Jin-ho and Hana stood in their garden, watching their children play. Hae-won was teaching the twins a serum meditation technique while they sat among earth vegetables and alien flowers. "We did well," Jin-ho said. "We did," Hana agreed. "From a desperate marriage to this, who would have believed it? I wouldn't have. But I'm glad I was wrong." Hana leaned against him. "The galaxy learned something important from us." "What's that?" "That love can be as powerful as any weapon. That unity between different peoples can create something stronger than either could build alone. And that sometimes the most important victories aren't won on battlefields." Jin-ho kissed the top of her head. "You're getting philosophical in your old age." "I learned from the best. A warrior who grows vegetables, a mercenary who became a father, a man who shattered battlefields but also built gardens." Their children called to them, wanting both parents to come play. Jin-ho and Hana walked over together, hand in hand. The princess who had wed a stranger to save her people. The warrior who had shattered armies in return. Together, they had built something beautiful from the ashes of war, and across the stars, their story was told. A reminder that even in the darkest times, hope could survive, love could flourish, and two very different souls could find each other and create a future worth fighting for.